Hello Pythonistas, welcome to Pythonista Geek channel. So today we are going to see cookies.py like cookie jar. So suppose that you would like to implement a cookie jar in which we store cookies in a file called jar.py, implement a class called jar with these methods. They have given us few methods. So init method will actually initialize the capacity of the jar and it should basically the maximum number of cookies that can fit the jar. That is the initialize method. So string method should basically return the number of cookies available. Like if I have one cookie, I will return like this. If I have three cookies, I will return three cookies like this. Okay. Deposit will should add n cookies to the jar. If adding that many cookies exceeded the jar's capacity, it should raise an exception called as value error. Withdraw should withdraw remove the n number of cookies from the jar. If there is no cookies, then that will also raise a value error. Capacity should display the capacity of the jar, like what is the actual capacity of the jar, and size should return the number of cookies cookies that are actually in the jar. Initially it will be 0. Okay, so this is the class structure. They have given us the structure, so it's easy for us, so we can just copy the structure and paste in our cookies jar.py. So I already created a directory called jar, and I created jar.py inside that directory so that it will be easy for us to use. So first starting with the initializing function. So in the init function they have said I need to make the capacity. Here by default they have given the capacity to be 12, but when I'm creating, if I want the capacity to be explicitly used by me, I can also create like that. So self dot capacity will be equal to the capacity which I give. Okay, and also I will also initialize the size to be 0 here itself, because by default the size will be equal to 0. Then in the string function it should display the number of cookies available with that cookie symbol. So I will just return this particular cookie symbol. I'm just copying. And pasting here so that it will be easy for me. So it is a string basically, and how many cookies should I return? Into n. N is nothing but the size of the jar, so it should be into the size of the particular jar, which is named as self dot size. So size of the jar, I am returning that number of cookies. Okay, so I think this is easy. So I am returning cookies with the size of the jar. After this, the next one is going to be the deposit. So what am I going to deposit? I am going to deposit the number of cookies, which is nothing but n. So before that I need to check if that n is going to satisfy the capacity or not. Like if my capacity is 12 and I am trying to deposit 13, it should show me a error, value error, right? So that is what I am going to check first. So if int of n plus the size, right? Self dot size will be equal to like less than or equal to capacity. Self dot capacity, if I am correct. Self dot capacity, I will proceed with the program. Okay, if this is equal to the self dot capacity, I am going to write self dot size must be plus equal to n. Okay, so already what is the size available plus the size available. Now what we are depositing, else what I will do, else I will throw an error, else I am going to raise and value error. So inside the value error I will write cookie jar is full. Okay, perfect. So the same way for withdrawing, it should not be 0. The capacity should not be 0. That is the basic thing. So if n is less than or equal to the size already available, self dot size, then I will withdraw the amount. Okay, so self dot size will be minus equal to n. So I am withdrawing it basically. Wait, I have just removed the 3 dots. Else I will throw an error. Cookie jar is empty. Okay, so I think this is easy for you to understand, right? I will just write n, int of n. Okay, so cookie jar is empty. I am writing. Next, setting the property here with the help of the capacity will be self return self dot underscore capacity. Okay, then I will also if the same way for size also I am returning self dot underscore size. So I am just setting the property as it is the basic properties. Okay, first capacity and this. Then I also need to set the setter for this, because we should have the setter by default, because then only this function will be working. So at capacity dot setter. So by default what will happen, I'm just setting up here. I think it will be useful for you also. Def capacity should be like self dot self and then capacity, and here what I am setting is so I will write my try block here. If int of capacity will be less than 0, they said we cannot have negative numbers, right? And we cannot have something which is floating point. So int of capacity is less than 0, then I will raise an error here. So what will be the error? Value error. Value error, inside that what should I say? Capacity cannot be negative. The same way I am also going to raise the except. We are trying this, and the except block will be capacity should only be integer. Okay, raise a value error where I will say capacity should only be integer. Okay, okay, the same way setter for size also I am just writing at size dot setter So here what I am writing, df of size will be nothing but self and size itself, and inside this I'm just setting my size here with the help of self underscore size should be equal to size itself. So I'm just setting these values for us to understand it in future. Okay, so I think it is. So now we are going to check with the help of the object. By creating an object for this jar, we can check whether all these functions are working fine. Okay, so I'm creating a object called as jar, and so by default I'm just creating an object without any capacity. So by default it should be 12 as the capacity. Okay, so now let me try to print the capacity. Maybe jar dot capacity. Okay, so if I run and see the program, 12 should be printed. Yeah, 12 is printed. Now let me just try to insert some cookies inside the jar. So it is nothing but jar dot deposit. I am depositing maybe 5 cookies, and now if I try to print the jar dot size, it should see me 5. Let us try. Yeah, perfect. Now let us withdraw the cookies. Jar dot withdraw. I guess withdraw is the function name. Yeah, withdraw. Jar dot withdraw from 5 cookies. I'm trying to withdraw 3 of them. And now let me try to print jar dot size. So initially it was 5, we are removing 3, it should be 2. Perfect. Yeah, so our program works correctly, and now let us create the test function, because they have said we need to test it with the help of test jar.py. So let us try doing that. So for testing, they have given us the test function also with some examples. Let us try to implement it. So code test underscore jar.py. Okay, now let me just try to copy this code and paste it. They have given us the code for testing the string. Test string, they have already given us the code, and we need to test the init function first, that is the capacity. So how are we going to test? With the help of assert function, correct? So let me just try to this one. We are creating a jar object, and then we are trying to initial, like by default now the jar object will be 12, correct? So assert jar dot capacity should be equal to 12. After this, maybe jar 1 equal to, now I'm explicitly giving a size for the jar, maybe 5. So now what should happen? Assert jar 1 dot capacity should be equal to 5. Yeah, so these are the two asserts. String assert they have already given. Now we are going to see the deposit function. So for deposit also we can just try creating this one. For creating an object first, after that I am depositing 1 cookie. After depositing 1 cookie, what should be there for me? There should be assert jar dot size should be equal to 1. After this, we can try making it um, as jar dot deposit. Now I'm again trying to deposit 5 cookies now. 5, and here assert jar dot size should be equal to 5 plus 1 6. So yeah, we have tested here also. Now for withdrawal, the same way I am creating a jar and I am depositing one cookie. Okay, instead of one, maybe I am depositing 6 cookies because I need to withdraw some. Assert jar dot, after depositing I am going to withdraw, jar dot withdraw. How much am I going to withdraw? Maybe 3. So if I withdraw 3, assert jar dot size should be equal to 3 because 3 is already deposited. Okay, now let us test this particular test jar. Python, sorry, PyTest, I guess. PyTest test underscore jar dot py. Yeah, all the 4 conditions have passed. Now let us just submit it with the help of check CS50 and see whether all greens are coming. Only one error is, but everything else is green. Python's constructor rest value error when called with negative capacity. So we did not make the negative capacity here. Okay, so here init function, when calling with negative capacity, it should throw an error. So what should I do here? I should make maybe here an if statement. If capacity is going to be greater than or equal to 0, I will do these two things. Else I will just raise a value error. Value error saying capacity cannot be negative. Okay, now let us try to run the program with check CS50. Yeah, everything is fine. Don't forget to submit. And I also wanted to say one more thing. Like here I have made a few changes in the code because I first wrote capacity alone, but now I have implemented with the underscore symbol because while if you're writing only capacity, it will be an external variable. To make it into an internal variable, that is within the object within the object, this variable is, the scope of this variable is only within the object, so I am prefixed with the underscore symbol. The same way for the size also, whenever I am calling self dot, I have prefixed all the places with the underscore symbol. Don't forget to do this particular change in your code also. And that's it for today, guys. Bye bye.